Hey everybody, this is Craig Cottle, the Director of Nature Reliance School and Survival Instructor at DansDepot.com. I was out making videos on SE knives today for the Dans Depot website and made a rookie mistake in that I was paying attention to the camera, trying to do what I was doing on camera so everybody could see it, and then I stabbed myself in the hand basically. So what I want to do is use this as an opportunity to show you what I'm going to do to clean up this wound. And the first act of doing that is to stay calm. I hope you can see that. I've cut myself. I'm bleeding pretty good, but we're just going to take our time and I'm going to show you how to clean this up so that everything's good to go. I want to do is to verify whether this is an arterial bleed, which I know it's not going to be in the location where it is on my hand, but I've cut myself right in here. But if it was an arterial bleed, which means it's basically blood that's pumping away from the heart, it would be surging out because every time my heart beat, it would surge out, and that's not good at all, okay? Because that means you're going to be losing a lot of blood pretty quickly. So I know that that's not the case here. And so either way, I still want to put direct pressure on the wound, but I say that about an arterial bleed because if you've cut a major artery, you're going to do everything you can to stop that bleeding, or you'll be bleeding out rather quickly. So a couple other mistakes that I've made in this particular case, and as always, I want to use my mistakes to help you all do a better job than what I'm doing. Basically, I had an issue with someone yesterday that I needed my first aid kit, and so I got my first aid kit out, was utilizing it actually at my house. I got it out of my vehicle. I have one in my house, but I got the kit out of my vehicle because I was outside at the time, and ignorantly I left my first aid kit at the house. I actually have two. I have a blowout kit and a regular first aid kit that I keep in my vehicle at all times. The blowout kit's still there. I'm not going to mess with this because this is not real high serious issue. So this is just a reminder to have a first aid kit with you at all times. Learn from my mistake. What I do have with me though is some drinking water. So what I've done first is I've applied pressure to kind of slow the bleeding down. And now what I'm going to do is do everything I can to get water into the wound. You want to make sure that you have you have water that is clean. Obviously, something that is purified is best, but basically the way I was taught in wilderness and remote first aid was use any water that you feel comfortable that you could drink, which this is water from my house, from the tap. I'm going to use it to clean the wound as best I can inside and out. There's no debris in the wound. I've already opened it up and looked at it to make sure there's nothing down in the wound itself. And so now I'm basically just cleaning it up as best I can. So again, you can see right there is the wound itself. And I can open it up rather easily and clean it out real good. So that's what I've done. I've got plenty of clean water down in there to clean it out. Now I'm going to take my first aid kit. Actually, my wife's bringing it to me. And we're going to get this thing good and cleaned up, and I'm going to cover it up. And then we're going to go about making the rest of the videos. A pretty good concern at this point is, how did I get this wound? So I know how I got it. Fortunately, I'm awake and I can function and all that good stuff. And I know that the knife is the thing that made the wound. However, this is an animal or human bite or a deep puncture wound. I would take some more precautionary steps to make sure it gets good and clean, see my healthcare provider. In this particular case, it's not that deep of a cut, but it's bleeding enough that I thought it would warrant us making a vid on it. So now I have the first aid kit. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these syringes. These have needles on them and for chest decomp, but all I'm going to do is use a syringe. I'm going to fill it with clean water and I'm going to use it to irrigate the wound. So I'm going to hold the wound open as best I can. Squirt the water in there, make sure it gets down in there good. And I'm just going to do that And I'm just going to do that over and over and over again till I feel it's been sufficiently irrigated, again with clean water. Now that I've irrigated the actual wound out, what I'm going to do is start using a 4x4 gauze that I keep in my kit, and I'm going to clean up all the way around the wound site as well as the rest of my hand and get it as sterile as possible. So again, all I'm doing is using clean water right now to get all the excess blood and everything else off my hand, trying to sterilize my entire hand as best I can. Another thing I might be checking out would be, you know, do I have nerve damage or something, so I'm feeling my fingertips. Everything feels good. And making sure everything's good so I determine whether I need to seek medical attention or not. So as you can see now, my hand looks pretty good actually. The wound is there, it's going to be there. I've got everything irrigated real good down inside the wound. So the only thing I don't have in this kit, because again I used my big syringe yesterday and my gloves yesterday, which is another good example of what not to do, because I thought, well, I'll just pick that stuff up today, and I actually needed it. I was going to get it at lunch and I should have got it this morning. So now I'm without an extra set of gloves because I've used them all. But I always have extra syringes in there too. So there's been a lot of clinical studies done on the use of alcohol or iodine as a wound cleaner. My instructor for wilderness and remote first aid suggested that you use any type of cleaner as best you can all the way around the wound, but not necessarily down in the wound, to let the healing process continue. I've done a lot of reading and research on that ever since, and it seems like even in the clinical community, there's a lot of pros and cons for using iodine and or alcohol or other wound cleansers in and outside the wound. Cleaned up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it good and covered, because the biggest risk at this point is infection. And so I'm going to do everything I can to get this wound covered up so that there's no opportunity for infection to get to it, and because that's going to be the biggest danger for me. So right before I cover it up, I'm going to put some antibiotic ointment around the wound, around the outside of it, but not down inside of it. And then I'm going to cover it up. Usually as a cover, I use some type of gauze material and duct tape. Band-aids just don't seem to stay very well, so I always have duct tape. It's such a multi-use resource, and I'm going to get this covered up so I don't get any debris in it, because I'm going to stay on here and do the rest of these videos. So it's not pretty, however, due to the nature of the location for this, it was right at the base of my middle finger. So I have trauma shears that I keep in my first aid kit. So I've cut off a small piece of gauze that I took out that was clean, and then I put 2 X's across my finger, so that's the piece that you're seeing there and there, and you can see barely coming out the bottom here. And then I just put a piece of wrap on my hand to hold those pieces in place. Again, my goal there is to just cover it up so it doesn't get any more debris in it or anything else while I continue on doing what I'm doing. And what I'm going to do is several times a day I'll change that so it stays clean and keep it covered so there's no chance of infection. So this is what I'm guessing is going to happen. I'm going to get a bunch of haters on YouTube. They're going to call me a moron or stupid or something like that. That's fine. You keep doing whatever you want to do. Sit there and watch your YouTube videos. Anybody that spends any time outdoors is going to have issues. That's why we study first aid. I will most readily admit that I made a stupid rookie mistake, and it was dumb. That was my fault for trying my best to get the knife on camera for you guys instead of paying attention to myself. So lesson for me, I learned that, and I'll pay better attention to myself and what I'm doing with the knives, and you might not get as good a video next time. How's that? Fancy that, I did that without even putting gunpowder in there and lighting myself on fire. So just joking. I appreciate Canterbury and what he does. He's really good at what he does. But that's real simple steps to help take care of this wound, clean it up and all that good stuff. I hope it's helped you in some way. Again, do my best to help people and learn from my own mistakes, and so that you don't have to make them when you're out here. If you found this video to be helpful, then please give us a thumbs up. Comment down here on anything that you think that could have been done better. And that way we can help our Dan's Depot survival community get better, stronger, and smarter while we're outside. Until next time, I hope to see you on or off the trail.